few weeks ago about supporting the national parks. I understand you're going to be getting into some money, which is fantastic, and because our parks have been deteriorating for some time now. So hopefully this money will give them a little boost and make them more aesthetic to our visitors. We have close to 1 million visitors at Big Bend in a year, and also that is not until what goes through Fort Davis. So we want to thank where those monies came from, probably from the federal government. But again, thank you very much for that. And we're also doing a proclamation for public service recognition, and that's to recognize our employees for the great job they do. Now, these guys out in the weather, all kinds of elements, working hard at it, and we just thought they needed a little pat on the back and a little thank you for all the hard work they do out there. And they're the ones that are out there working on the streets, which I know we need more streets repaired, but I think we've made an astonishing progress on this back to the last couple of years. So we're going to be recognizing next week on this. And I don't have a mayor's report, city manager.
Mayor, excuse me. There's a proclamation in there for Public Service Recognition Week.
Okay.
It's here on 3, the tab 3.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and read that. Public Service Recognition Week in honor of the millions of public employees at the federal, state, county, and city level. Whereas Americans are served every single day by the public service in the federal, state, county, and city levels. These unsung heroes do the work that keeps our nation working. Whereas public employees take not only jobs but oaths. Whereas many public servants, including military personnel, public officers, firefighters, border patrol officers, embassy employees, healthcare professionals, and others risk their lives each day in the service of the people of the United States and around the world. Whereas public servants include teachers, doctors, and scientists, trained conductors and astronauts, nurses, safety inspectors, laborers, computer technicians, social workers, and countless other occupations. Day in and day out, they provide the diverse service demanded by the American people for their government with efficiency and integrity. And whereas with the public service at every level, continuity would be impossible in a democracy that regularly changes its leadership and elected officials. Therefore, I, Andres Ramos, Mayor of Alpine, do hereby announce and proclaim to all citizens and set seal hereto on May 6 through 12, 2018 in Public Service Recognition Week. All citizens are encouraged to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of government and employees at all levels, federal, state, county, and city, and pass and approve of this first day of May at the meeting City Council of City of Alpine. Okay, we'll go to city staff updates. And we'll go with Chief Scout.
Good evening. You can see from your council packets the monthly statistics, and also including the quarterly report for the police department. You can see that a lot of the activities remain consistent with some of the major things that we deal with: disturbances, domestic disturbances, and so forth. Also, welfare concerns and checks. I also included the animal control report and provided you some of the statistics as far as the number of animals that are dealt with, the calls that they go on. They do a fantastic job out there trying to adopt these animals out. They've had, I believe it says, 4 adoption events during the quarter at different places, such as at the animal shelter, also at the Civic Center when we had the Health Safety Day, and also on Murphy Street for the Earth Day event. They also had an adoption event there. A lot of times they have great success in adopting those animals out through those events. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Hey, Chief, just one item, and you probably don't know the answer to this, but I just want to bring mention to it. One of the statistics on the animal information is that out of the 154 animals that were picked up, 20 of them were repeat offenders. That seems like a high number, and I presume that Jennifer and the team are off trying to work what the game plan is so they don't become a repeat offender yet again.
Yes, sir. Quite often with those initial calls, they'll issue warning notices to those pet owners. And with the subsequent offenders, that's when they are taken to court with an actual citation. And then it rests with the court.
Yeah, as I recall, because we had the discussion before, by the time you kind of get all of that, it costs you about $500. By the time you go through court costs, get your animal chipped and all the other things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, on the animal transfers, 38, where are they transferred to? Just other rescues?
Through other rescues that may have space for them or something where they have a greater probability of being adopted out. I think we have partnerships with some of the local ones, such as in Fort Davis. So, yes, that's probably one of the primary ones we do. But we deal with other rescue agencies and stuff. Yes, sir.
Back on your APD monthly statistics, it's always amazing to me the number of responses you all have to 9/11 calls, which the majority of them tend to be disturbance and domestic disturbances. Are we fairly typical, Chief, for what others might see? And so, I mean, my sense is you spend a lot of your time on that side, which is where ideally we'd not like to spend time, but you all are almost like family mediators in your job.
A lot of times that is the case. In many of those cases, there are also repeat type offenses. The 911 calls are something that any call that comes into the 911 system, whether it's an actual emergency or a hang-up or a missed dial or whatever it is, we still have to follow up with that to make sure that everything is all right with whoever that caller may have been.
Welfare concerns, domestic disturbances, and disturbance in general. Those are kind of your top 3 items associated with your calls.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Then go ahead and go on to public hearings. Public hearing to hear citizens' views and comments concerning application request for rezoning from R1 to C-O in order to allow space for a small professional business office. Property identification address is 207 North Harrison. Legal description is Hancock Edition, Block 4, Lot 6E, 14 BRS of 7. Record owner is Tony Pate Brookover. Any questions on this?
It's just a public hearing. It's just a hearing.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we'll go to consent agenda. Minutes, financial reports, department written reports, board appointments, etc. The following items are routine administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background and support details for each item and or it has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by council members, which event the item or items will be immediately be withdrawn for individual consideration in its normal sequence after the item is not required. Separate discussion have been acted upon. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote. City Manager.
Mayor, item A is approval of minutes from the city council meeting on April 17th, 2018. B is appointment of Kathy Brooks to the Animal Advisory Board for Ward 5.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as written, including approval of the minutes and the appointment of Kathy Moore to represent Ward 5 on the Animal Advisory Board.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Information or discussion items, quarterly reports. Tracks. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I would like to read a statement of our services. Am I loud enough? Is this on? Is this on? Is it? Okay. I'd like to read a statement of our services at our local neighborhood center here in Alpine. We are BBCAC, Big Bend Community Action Committee, and we provide transportation and utility subsidy to our low-income residents here in the area and across 5 counties. So here at the Alpine Neighborhood Center, Big Bend Community Action Committee has served Alpine for many years. Our low-income clients have multiple needs. We work to serve them in these important areas. TRAX Public Transportation. You have seen our TRAX buses around town. We provide a service that is crucial to our area here in West Texas. Not only can we help you with your local transportation needs for medical appointments, shopping, going to work, visiting friends and family here in Alpine, we can take you to the airport in El Paso or to your doctor's appointments in Odessa, Midland. We cover transportation needs in 5 counties through our 4 offices, including Alpine, Marfa, Van Horn, and Priscilla. We run Monday through Friday except Thanksgiving and Christmas. Anyone may use TRAX. And TRAX rides can be arranged through our Marfa office. There's a handout there for you that includes the phone numbers. Have they been handed out? Are they at the secretary's desk? There are handouts there?
They sent those prior to.
Okay, thank you. Utility assistance. We help low-income families, elders, and the disabled pay their monthly electric, gas, or propane bills. Our clients must meet income requirements to qualify for assistance. At the Alpine Neighborhood Center, we serve approximately 300 families and individuals here in Alpine, Terlingua, Lajitas, and Marathon. This subsidy is crucial to the comfort, security, and safety to these households, especially during cold winters and hot summers. Through education, we encourage our clients to use energy wisely. Where possible, we encourage our clients to do what they can to graduate from our utility assistance programs. Neighbor to neighbor. Some utility companies have chosen to provide assistance to their customers who struggle to make ends meet on low and fixed incomes. TXU, Direct Energy, WTU, Retail, and First Choice offer assistance to eligible customers through our offices. Weatherization. When possible, we reduce our clients' energy costs through our weatherization program. We inspect homes to qualify them, then subcontract the work to a qualified contractor. Many homes do not qualify because they are too old and in bad shape. Big Bend Community Action Committee receives its funding from CIAP, the Comprehensive Energy Assistance Program, which is also designed to help clients achieve energy self-sufficiency by encouraging them to control energy costs. CIAP is funded through LIHEAP, the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, which originates in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Our funding also comes under CSVG, Community Services Block Grants. These funds are administered by the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. CSVG is the core funding source for the Big Bend Community Action Committee, which provides administrative support for the many programs that do not have administrative funds. Please help others in our community who might benefit by referring them to our office at 607 West Gallego Avenue. Our hours are 9 to 12 and 1 to 3 Monday through Friday, and the phone number is on the handout. Another thing is we are working to expand our mission by offering eventually classes such as budgeting and parenting and other things that would be beneficial that the community requests. We're expanding our and upgrading our neighborhood centers so that we can really serve the community better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sure. So on the agenda item, the Brewster County Appraisal District, got a number of points just to bring council up to speed. You know, the Brewster County Assessment District meets the third Tuesday of each month at 11 a.m. in the old library, which is now the Battlefield Conference Center. Our last meeting was April 17th, and the next meeting is May 15th. That meeting is open to the public. We have 7 members of the board, and we have problems meeting quorum because our board chair, Ron Sanders, resigned due to medical issues, and Ron represented the county. Will Morrow represented the Alpine Independent School District. He's coming off representing the school district. This is third time on the board, but he's going to be appointed by Elazar Khan to represent the county. So we'll continue on that. And Quentin Sledge, you probably know, resigned from the hospital district board, and his replacement is working. We'll find out how we can do our next meeting. Financially, which is I think some of the concerns we might have, the Brewster County Assessment District's in excellent financial shape at the end of March. We had a balance of $350,000 in the bank. Our costs are well under plan, and frankly, each of the constituents, which includes the city, ought to expect a refund before the year's over. So our fee will not be nearly as much as it has been in the past. Our business expenditure has been for a new vehicle because the assessors have a lot of revenue to cover Brewster County, particularly when they get off the roads and head on south. Denise Flores, I'm not sure how many of you met Denise. She replaced Matt White. Denise is terrific. I think she's a terrific chief appraiser. When you look at salary range, which ranges anywhere between $35,000 and $58,000 per year, she's well within range at the midpoint. She's done a great job focusing on training for the team, so I got a lot of respect for what Denise has been doing. Although I would have to admit, there are many residents in the city of Alpine that don't like their work because we all see it manifested in our property values. Property values, just from a schedule standpoint, they're being completed this week, so that'll be for the next tax assessment that comes out. They'll be certified in July. That's the time frame to get that to work. But just to give everyone a perspective, the analysis over the last 5 years, the tax base is up 33%. That's from a combination of new construction, property sales at higher value than previously assessed value, and overall assessments. So bottom line, we're seeing our taxable values go up 33% over 5 years. As citizens look at where our property tax gets paid in Alpine, total tax bill in Alpine is $2.27 per $100 of property value. It breaks into 4 specific areas. First is the hospital district. They get 12 cents per $100 value, or 5% of the tax. The next is Brewster County. They get 38.64 cents per $100 value, so they get 17% of the tax. City of Alpine, we're next. Our tax rate is 53.5 cents per $100 value, and in essence, that's 24% of the taxes. The entity that gets the largest amount of taxes is the Alpine Independent School District. At their current tax rate of $1.23 per $100 value, they get 54 cents of every tax dollar spent. One of the actions that is being worked right now is when we all get our assessed values in July and we all look at them and shudder, we have the opportunity to go back to a 3-person independent board. There are 3 members coming on board, and they're in the process of getting their education. They are not tied to the assessment district board itself, but they are independent citizens who have come forward, and what they do is they review all of the complaints. Last year, there's some 800 of them. We'll see what happens this year, so they have to adjudicate all of those and work their way through, so those 3 individuals stay very busy. So that's my report on the Brewster County Assessment District. Any questions?
Go ahead. Great report. Then we'll move on to Alpine Volunteer Fire Department by Chief Fort Scudder.
Mayor, Chief Scudder had submitted his report and intended to be here, but he's currently out at a fire. So if we can skip over this and we can ask him to come back next time.
Okay. Let's move that out. And then the next one is going to be on the US 67 corridor matching plan, presented by Project Manager Ramon Velasco. And Chris Weber, our local engineer, will assist him in it.
Our city manager just tried to offer me a mic, by the way, you might want to have a talk with her. Real quick, I'd like to introduce, Chris Weber, next I'm in your game. We're here to talk about the US67 study, and Ramon Carrasco is with Climate Consulting, and we partnered with him and a few other consultants on this study. He's going to give you a brief kind of overview of what this is. One thing that he will emphasize in here that I cannot emphasize enough. This is not a project to build a road or to do anything with the road. It's to solicit input from the public, figure out what we should do to the 67 corridor, 142 miles from Presidio to the interstate. I'd like to turn it over to Ramon, and then I'll probably maybe grab the mic with you.
Mayor, council members, like Chris said, my name is Ramon Carrasco. I'm with Climate Consultants. We recently opened an office in Presidio. I grew up in Presidio, graduated there in 1990, came to Sul Ross for 1 year after I figured out that they didn't have engineering. So I ended up transferring to UTEP, Paso. But anyway, we just, after graduation, I moved to Midland and worked with a consulting firm that used to do a lot of engineering for the city of Alpine. So I've been working with the city of Alpine since 1996. And so we just opened an office in Presidio, and I'm pretty happy that I'm back with my mom there. but anyway, this one of the main purposes that we're trying to do this presentations is because this corridor is really important for the communities. So, I know, Chris, can you go through the slides? But, let's see, so this is a team. This is a TxDOT project, and the project team is Rebecca Reyes with TxDOT from El Paso, Chris, Marty Boyd, and Tony Uribe, and myself, Ramon Carrasco, and Vicky Carrasco. Vicky is really the one that typically presents this, but she decided to go to Cancun this week. So I have to be here. But anyway, this corridor is a very long corridor. It's a 67 from Presidio going all the way to basically Port Stockton I-10. And so this study is to study what's going to happen in the next 20, 30 years in this corridor, including the main alignments between Presidio, Marfa to Port Stockton, and also inside the city. What should we build, or what does the community want? How do they want to see this corridor in the future? Okay, so the main purposes of this study is like I said before, to develop the future vision of transportation along this corridor. To develop what you want to see, TxDOT is asking the city officials to kind of guide this report, kind of guide this study themselves, and the officials decide with the public what they want to see in their community. So. Mayor Ramos, we actually started this corridor back in the study back in November, and we've had several meetings. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen any of the emails that we've been sending out to inviting you to these meetings. But it's an important corridor. That's the life of our communities, and we would like for y'all to participate and give us your input. Let us know what you want to see in this corridor. what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through a lot of these slides pretty fast so that we don't keep you out for 30 minutes here. But this is basically showing some of the problems that we have on the corridor, like you know, this mobile homes coming from Presidio. I mean, it's dangerous. It's not safe. And one of the main concerns that the citizens have is, hey, what are we gonna do to alleviate this problem? I mean, like, you know, I mean, there's a lot of cyclists in the area. We want to make sure that in this study, we also include what are we going to do to make sure that the cyclists are safe in our roads. And this is the Paisano Pass. I mean, this is one of the, probably what I would say the most dangerous section of this highway because it's kind of weird weather. And this is I think this picture was taken in December somewhere. So we're considering all that. This is the intersection in Marfa. The main intersection in Marfa, they have a lot of issues in there. So TxDOT is not only considering the highway by itself, they're also considering, hey, what should we do inside the cities? How do the cities want to see this highway? How do they want to develop it? And so we need y'all's input on this. So these are the main topics of the presentation today: is the planning and to implementation. What is a corridor master plan? I'm going to go do a brief introduction of what it is. We're going to show you the study schedule, and then we're going to show you what type of public involvement we're doing. But one of the things, 2 weeks ago, we had a presentation in the city of Marfa, and the majority of the people there were asking, hey, who's going to pay for all this that you're building? And the newspaper misquoted me saying TxDOT is going to pay for everything. And that's not the case. I mean, TxDOT is paying for the study for sure. I mean, this is a pretty expensive study, and the cities should take advantage of it. I mean, since I've been around, I've never seen a study on US 67 in our area. I've seen a lot of studies in El Paso, and this area, our area here, has been left behind. It's like people don't care because we're kind of isolated. And this is a unique opportunity for y'all to take advantage of.
To clarify, there's been one, but that was done by Motran.
Okay, yeah, that's true. The Motran people, I mean, when they try to come here and try to force us on a 4-lane highway, this is not the same. This is, we want the people to tell us, hey, this is how we would like to see the highway in the future. And so that's the main focus of this study. And like I said, this is an expensive study. You all should take advantage of it and show what your ideas are, how you want to see this highway. Because otherwise, if you don't participate and we put a bunch of stuff in the plan for the future, and then they build something that you really didn't want, hey, you didn't come to the meetings, you didn't tell us what you wanted. So, I mean, so you need to participate and you need to be outspoken. But okay, going back to this thing. So this is TxDOT is funding this corridor study. In this corridor study, we're going to recommend several projects, whatever the main public wants. So there's going to be several projects that are going to come out of this study with a timeline, right? There's going to be a short-term projects, mid-term projects, and long-term projects. And all these, there's no funding for any of these. These are just like studies that we would like to see in the future. But this is going to be a plan that TxDOT and the cities and counties can use to look for funding. So if they want to go to the federal government, to the state, and say, hey, we've got this project that we would like to look for funding for, you'll be able to use this plan. Hey, here's a plan. We already did public participation. We already did a lot of studies, and the majority of the public wants this. And so it'll be like a guide for TxDOT and the cities to go when requesting for funding. One of the things that Vicky likes is this little bullets where you have to click for each little sentence to come up. But anyway, this slide, one of the things that we're trying to do is define what's a master plan. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but if you have any questions and would like me to go through more detail, I certainly can. But basically, a master plan is a plan that shows what you want for the future. It's a plan for the future. Plan to build something in the future. And this plan is, what do we want for the future along Highway 67? How do we want this highway to look like? So that's and the majority of the plans, I mean, for this highway is, the main thing is probably improve the safety. That's what the majority of the people want. We want to make sure that this highway is safe for our traveling, for our kids to travel, and for our parents to travel. Anybody or even the visitors that come and visit us, we want to make sure that they have good travels in our territory. Yes, sir.
Ramon, what would you like questions at the end?
No, you can really, I mean, so you don't forget the questions, you can interrupt me and ask the question while the slide is up, and I'll answer them right there.
So in my mind, one of the biggest challenges of the whole study, and clearly with focus on safety, how do you balance the needs of cities who want tourists and engagement and slow down in town, at the same time, you're trying to move goods and services to meet business needs? Those two would appear to be diametrically opposed, because you're moving, trailers, freight, trucks, and all that, which most people don't want rolling through downtown. So what's your strategy about how to come up with something that provides some balance there?
Yes, sir. Well, that's exactly what this plan is for, because not everybody's going to be happy with the solutions. But what we want to try to see is, what does the majority of the people want? If we want to come up with a project, what is the majority of the people is going to support? Maybe one or two people are not going to like that solution, but we want to make sure that we build something that the majority of people wants. And
just a comment on that also. Ideally, we would put a crossing guard at all four corners of Alpine, and we have a relief route. And we would ask each driver a question: are you going to spend money in Alpine, or are you passing through? If you're passing through, door out. If you're going to spend money, doors open. There are ways to do that. And what I see, the only way this study is going to be successful is with a meaningful partnership, for instance, Alpine, with the city of Alpine and Brewster County, because there's some cooperative tasks that obviously need to be done if there's right away and things like that. The county has a share in that, or the line share of it. But there are relief routes that have killed cities. We give you examples. We know that there's been relief routes that are very successful. The one in Monahans is actually really sneaky, because most of the freight that takes that route wants to go east, but they make them go west. You don't take that route because it's not the shortest route. Trucks have to because it's the truck route. So that's an interesting, and every community is different, the geometry is different, but that's exactly the challenge that we have, because unlike that other study that was briefly mentioned, it was done about as poorly as you could do any public involvement, because it was a consultant, and I'm going to say the textile logo because I wouldn't sit with them. I sat in the audience and moved with everybody else. I think public involvement can be two things. It's false public involvement, where I have a preconceived notion, I'm trying to jab it down your throat, and I've got to beat environmental law, which I'm not a fan of. And there's this kind of study where it's like, TxDOT's not going to tell you what to do. You're going to tell us what you need and develop consensus for those ideas. And I think that is, your question is the key, at least in the Alpine portion of this. One thing I did get out of the 2006 to 2008 study, example I give you, if you were going from the gun club to RAS on the east side of town, it might take 7 minutes, even if you're in rush minute, right? What if that took 25 minutes? Is that acceptable? I don't think so. And one thing that came from that study, 30 years from when it was done, they were predicting it would be a level of service D on parts of Holland and Avenue E, which there's only one grade worse, so I never got either one in school, like a little better than that. But it's going to change things. It affects pedestrian safety. It affects all of our safety. It affects business owners. And the corridor working group that we put together, it's a pretty cool list. As I've even asked a consultant, have you ever seen this many people involved in kind of like a steering committee? It's wide open, as far as these public meetings we're going to have, but it has to have someone kind of driving the boat, if you will. And we feel that we've got the right agencies, the right elected officials and folks in place. My biggest fear with this study is not that it won't be successful. It's not that we won't generate good ideas. It's that we're so open to ideas and working with elected officials. Frankly, we're not pissing anyone off, so I'm afraid people won't show up. Because The key to apathy is pleasing people and not giving them a fight, right? If you do something controversial like that last night, we have 450 people at the elementary school cafeteria, and then the lady from Austin introduced Mayor Klaus as the mayor of Abilene. Pretty much went south from there. I remember it well. I was not with him. But that's a really good question, and Mayor Ramos and I have had a lot of talks about this, is really how do you get people interested in something that's not controversial? And that's a challenge for any community. I don't care how big or small.
Yes, and again, I mean, that's the main purpose of this study, is identifying a need, and that we as consultants, we're gonna show you recommendations, alternatives, do all this public participation, and tell you, look, this is the final result, this is what we came up with. The majority of the people wanted this, and we did this study, and this is the approach that we recommend you go to. And so we're not just gonna do a study, what do you want, we're also gonna make recommendations, how to do it, and what's the best options for you all to do what your needs are. So this main participation, what we're going on through now is public participation. It's basically to find out what your needs are. You're gonna tell us, hey, Ramon, make sure that you put this on your plan. Study, make sure, should we put a sidewalk through here, or should we plant trees? All of that. So this is really a city's plan. The city's gonna let us know, include this, and we'll make sure that you investigate this and tell us what to do on this thing. That's the main lot of it.
Part of the reason I raised the question, you're trying to facilitate a discussion amongst the city's 6,000 people, and you've got to have some order to it. The examples you gave us are perfect. What's happened in other environments, given the geometry and geography of our city, what are your informed views and recommendations, given the configuration and what you see? That will help people go a long ways to give you some sense, do this, not that. Because in the end, I don't think you're ever going to get where everyone says, I embrace. What you're trying to do is get the rejectors off the table to say, I can accept or embrace. But that's, you got to get something out there sooner, right?
Yeah, and a couple examples, roughly, we put the numbers together, but we had a conference call last week. It's like 97% of the freight that goes through this corridor isn't stopping on this corridor for any particular reason. It's through traffic. And that doesn't do any good, as far as economic or socioeconomic benefit to the city of Alpine. It actually can detract in a lot of ways for pedestrians and that sort of thing. One example, if I can just give a silly example, we really need everyone's input. It doesn't matter what your background are. It doesn't matter what you've done or do for a living. We went on a bus tour 4 months ago, and a guy from Border Patrol, we were up on the northern portion north of the Y, he said, a lot of people don't know where these passing lanes are when they're tourists, and they're right on your back end, and a quarter mile, half mile up, there's a passing, and they'll pass you and they'll pass you. Could you just maybe put up a sign at the end of each passing lane that said 2 more miles, next passing lane? We're like, yeah, we don't need to wait 2 years to do it. How about we get the signs ordered? We've done it from the Y north of Fort Stockton. We're going to continue to route people like them based on the input we receive. But there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. We talk about crosswalks. Where should we put crosswalks in now? There's all kinds of things we can do with push-button activated things and lights that flash and tell people to stop because it's a very unique deal with a one-way pair. But we need you to tell us, what if we spend $50,000 and put that thing in place and you end up having to maintain it? I'm not saying you would, but just for instance, and we figure out we put it in the wrong spot. Oops. Not where the pedestrians walk, it's where you're close to water. That's why it needs to be a planned effort with everyone involved. And I want to stress this again, it doesn't matter what your background is. I'm an engineer, Ramon's an engineer, there's a lot of stuff in here. When you look at the data, and we'll get to that point, it doesn't make any sense. I thought the most dangerous part of this road was between Marfa and Presidio, right? No, more people die from the Y north on the flat part. Is that because you have cell service? I don't know, that's another thing we're looking at. But there's just a lot of things that don't make intuitive sense to an engineer, and I need normal people to help us with this. Because for this to be our best work, we need a lot of very smart people involved, and they exist here in Alpine and all along the corridor. And the last thing I'll say before we move on, that last study was very divisive. It pitted Marfa against Presidio, Alpine against Fort Stockton, and vice versa. We're all making. I don't know what Robert says about that, the rules of order.
No.
I just have a question. Is this basically a continuation of the old study that started in Odessa and Miller that pushed it because why isn't El Paso involved? It would be closer in the long run with El Paso to get up to the interstate rather than come from two towns, Marfa and Alpine, to get up to Odessa.
Couple things. 67 already is a road and already does that. It's an existing facility we're evaluating.
Because of the old stuff.
No. Here's the difference. And I'm glad you brought that up. Here's the difference. The scope for Long Trial El Pacifico study was not written anywhere here locally. I think you can guess the folks who live in Odessa that were involved, a few elected officials that were involved. The scope was written in Austin. If you remember the scope of that project, a feasibility study to construct a 4-lane divided highway, the whole route. That's a lot different than we don't have any projects planned. You're going to plan them. These folks are going to plan them. You're going to tell us what you think you need. If it's nothing, it's nothing. That's the biggest difference. I'm glad you brought that up because I wrote the scope.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It seems to me that we're talking about something that we're going to do. It doesn't seem to me like you're asking us, do we want this or not?
What we're going to do is study it, and that's all that's funded and planned. I don't have a proposed project for this one.
And then my next question would be, how is it, I hear Ramon talking that it's for the good of the city. I want to know how that's going to be good for the city.
Okay.
You even mentioned that 97% of it is going somewhere else. So we're just a corridor through here, and what we wind up getting is the traffic of all that.
Right. And can I stop that or you stop that, or can we try to study it and figure out what's happening to maybe adjust for fire?
That was my first question. Do we have the ability to say yes to the project, or do we have the ability to say no?
Yeah,
What project?
yeah, the main thing.
You're making plans. You're trying to suggest that we need to decide what we're going to do in order to be able to facilitate this. You're not saying, do we want this or not?
Because it's not my decision to tell you what you want. And it never will be. It's not TxDOT's position to tell the city of Alpine and the city of Marfa any more than it is Brewster County or Presidio County. What's going to happen with this study, elected officials such as the ones in the front of the room, and you've been one, you know that. You have a job to do. You have a particular jurisdiction that you're responsible for figuring out what is the consensus of this group. So it's the elected officials' job to figure out what their constituents want and relay that information to us. And as a backup for you as a citizen, you can talk directly with us so we hear your voice. I'm not going to tell anybody, I think you need to do this, I think you need to do that. If the data has, concerns you in some way, hey, for instance, we're going to go through this in a second. If you average it out over a 7-year period, there's a wreck of 142 miles every 3.5 days. There's a serious injury roughly every month. And there's a fatality every 6 months. And the bottom line, why I'm talking about safety, is almost every segment of this corridor is above the rural average for the state of Texas as far as people being killed and injured. And as an engineer, that's very concerning. These are people's lives and families being impacted that are no longer here. Maybe they were wrong. Maybe it was driver error. Maybe they were on their phone. Maybe their tire fell off. Whatever. I want to know why those things are happening. If there's one thing we can do to protect one person, then this study was worth it. That's why safety is a main component in this, because that's my job.
Yeah, to clarify this, this study is not a project. It's a study to do a comprehensive plan. Like the city of Alpine, they have comprehensive plans. They probably do one every 5 years, maybe every 10 years. And this comprehensive plan is just to plan out, hey, what should we do in the next 20 years? It's just a guide. It's just a guide for the city to see what they're going to do in the next 20 years. So this is going to be a guide for the TxDOT and for the city to see what they are planning on doing in the next 30 years. So there are really no projects at this point. I mean, we're just trying to come up, hey, what does the city need? And if they come up with a project, then we'll guide them through that project.
Okay, one more question. If I could just say one thing real quick, Mayor. Really, the best way I can describe this, if you hired me as an engineer to design plans for your house, would I get to do it however I want, or would I have to list your concerns and needs? Because it's your house. This is not my house. This is your house. You go to Barfoot's, theirs, all within the county jurisdictions. I would think of this as we are consultants. If you say, why is this passing lane so short? Why is this passing opportunity so short? Why isn't it double yellow here? Then it's our job to go figure that out, report back, you know what, Julian, you were right. That doesn't meet requirements, good catch, and we'll fix it. The main thing is we're not going to help any constituent nor an elected official. Here's what you need to be doing right now, because that's not our place.
Based on what you were saying, that we're already having accidents and everything, I don't see how increasing the traffic is gonna make it any.
Who's
safer.
increasing the traffic?
Well, the trucks are gonna be coming through here, right?
And that's where the data is really important. Everybody here for Presidio, the trucks are, it's just like a floodgate, and they're opened up.
Well, I've seen the traffic in Laredo and North Laredo.
If I can finish my point,
Sure, go ahead.
2.3% in 7 years is how much the truck traffic inbound from Mexico has increased. Most of the other segments of the road are between 6.8 and 8.9% increase. So that tells you they're not coming from Mexico. That's why you study things. Instead of talking about how the road feels or what we think might be happening, I have to use data to make decisions. I have to prove, okay, you thought this, but really it's this. I was surprised by that too. But that's our job. Our job is to come up with the numbers, to answer questions, not to come up with questions. That's the ultimate. That helps.
Thank you for letting me talk.
No, this is the way you do public involvement. We're not going to tell you what to do. There was a great example of that 10 years ago, and I'm glad you brought it up. If you want a textbook case on how not to do public involvement, that would be the poster child. And I'm still pissed.
That's why we're up now. So,
Well, one last thing I'm going to end on there. Do you think anyone uses the 67 corridor on any segment, including in town, because Chris Weber says you should use that road? Nope. No. You've been to Presidio, Julian. Who made you use that road?
The highway department, because that's the only road there.
Right? And it's the same reason everybody else uses it. So I can't make people use it or not use it. But I can't stick my head in the ground and say, well, let's just hope it's good in 30 years. I hope nothing bad happens. I hope Alpine's still here. That's why you fight.
The rest of you have a question? Maria?
Oh, I want to know if you describe the higher level of civilization includes some restrooms.
Yeah, coming up with a lot. Yeah. Something about an actual place to sit, not a mesquite bush. Yeah, that was good. But those are the kind of comments that one person or one group of people can't do. It takes everybody. As my father says to me, it takes a village to raise an idiot too, but I think he's talking about me. A couple of the questions, go ahead.
Yes, I'll make this very quick. From some of the meetings that I've been to, which all been very good, to me, yes, the focus is on safety and the assessment of where we should improve. The other is, I'm seeing emails coming out about future upcoming public response and we great. After the public involvement meetings, how soon will we be before we see a pre-management plan?
Yeah, one of the main things on this study, this is a 2-year study. So Tech Scott really said, hey, let's spend 2 years to hear everybody, to make sure that everybody that wants to participate has a chance to participate. So coming in May 14, 15, and 16, and 17, we're going to be having the first set of public meetings in Presidio, Marfa, Alpine, and Port Stockton. So this is going to be the first opportunity for the general public to come to the meetings and voice their opinions. But after that, we're going to evaluate, we're going to see what the public wants, what kind of comments they want. We're going to do a lot of reports and show it to the councils commissioners and tech staff, look, this is what we came up with at the public meetings. From there, we're going to be having a lot of meetings with special focus groups that are going to be like the council, the commissioners, people from Border Patrol, from the highway, from tech staff, from phone companies, from TXU, a bunch of different type of groups that we're going to meet to try to see what their concerns are at that point. So there's a lot of planning still to go through before we come up with any kind of solution. And we're thinking probably in November or December, I think, is when we're going to have the second public meeting. By that time, we're hoping to present to the council, to the public, what our findings are. And look, this is what we found out. This is what the majority of the people want. This is their voice. And at that point, we'll present some alternatives. This is what we're looking at. These are the alternatives. Give us your input again. What do you think about all this? And once that's done, that we're going to go through more meetings with the main corridor working group, and then around we'll go through the schedule here, but around I think it's so that's the study timeline kind of, so you can kind of see where we're going. But I think it's going to be in the fall of 2019 when we're going to have like a final report. So it's going to be about a year and a half from now. So we're kind of long ways before we see any data. We started this study back in November. I think it was back in October, and we've been doing a lot of data collection, and that was the first phase of this study to see what kind of data, what kind of traffic, what kind of accidents we've seen in the past, and we presented all that data. I don't remember if we already showed it to y'all. I think we have. A lot of the data is available. We have a lot of ways that people can access online the data, which I'll go through in a minute. And so there's a lot of things that we've been doing since October. Okay, let's see. These are the past activities that we've done.
Why would we spend 6 months on a study before we ever include the public and have public meetings? Because that sounds sneaky to me. The reason is we wouldn't have anything to talk about if we don't formalize this data, how many turning movements we have at different intersections and stuff. We don't want people making uneducated guesses. We want them making factual statements about what's really happening. And we have to be able to generate a massive amount of data, organize it, and present it in a way that's so simple an engineer can figure it out. And that way you don't have to, if you go through 1,000 sheets of paper to figure out what number you're looking for, no, ask us, we'll give you the data. Because everybody has a different thing they're looking at, whether it's economic development, whether it's safety, whether it's expansion of more tourism within economic development, whether it's trying to forecast traffic and international traffic, whether it's trying to, freight analysis is a part of this. And what we're going to be able to show you based on our best guess, and with the data and projecting it forward of some developments in Mexico or local developments, here's what we're estimating, kind of a bandwidth of traffic 30 years from now. That's important information for people to make decisions and plans.
Yeah, so like Chris said, one of the first things that we did is collect data. I don't know if you saw a bunch of cameras that we put around the cities and along the highway trying to record how much traffic is coming through here, and also where is the traffic going. Like people from Fort Stockton driving through here, are they going to Marfa or are they going to Steady View? So we had a bunch of cameras to try to figure that out, and so that we could show the people in the council, so look, this is the data that we came up with, this is what we recorded. And that way that they can make a better estimate of what needs they will need depending on the data that they see. But these are all the meetings that we've had so far. We created the website. We had we've been to safety events like local events that y'all have. We typically try to have a booth there to show to the public and get comments from them. At least have a presence and let them know that we're doing this study and that they're welcome to voice their opinion. But part of our study is we wanted to create a logo for this project. It's going to be a long project, so we wanted to make sure we have a logo so people can identify us and know that who we are. But this is the steering committee, kind of the CWG, they voted and chose this study. So all these people that have been coming to the meetings, they had a chance to vote on what logo. We had several different type of logos, and this is the one that the majority voted on. So this is our logo. This is our brand. One of the okay, so this is a way to communicate to us through the internet, and in here you also. Oh, this is the Mind Mixer. So this Mind Mixer is kind of like Facebook, but it's not Facebook. Here, if you go to this website, you'll be able to put comments, and any people that log in here will be able to see your comment and answer any comments. We'll also have like the mayor, maybe Tech Scott, they'll be able to comment or answer any questions that come up that people may ask in this portal.
In Councilman Stevens, this kind of goes back to your question of how do you engage 6,000 people just in Alpine, let alone everybody else and users of the corridor. I can answer that with tools like this and a few others that we have, but it's anyone who wants to participate. I can't by definition get anyone to participate that doesn't want to. But those people, it's kind of like I don't like talking politics with people that don't vote. And I've been through that one. You kind of give up your right to have an opinion if you don't exercise your right to vote. Well, if you don't participate in this study, you can come to me 2 years from now and say, I think that's stupid. Well, I think I'm participating stupid. But when you're given an opportunity, you can take it or leave it. Yes, sir.
This website going to be secure? What that they say, HTTPS. Non-secure website.
You want to follow up on that with Ron?
So HTTPS.
Is it secure?
Yeah, we'll follow up. Say like questions like this is what we need to get from the public. Like, I don't know. But we'll follow up. We have a special group that's handling the website. So we'll follow up on that and see, make sure that it's secured.
And the key to this too is everyone going to be able to make a meeting if we just arbitrarily pick, May 14th from 5 to 7? No, and you shouldn't have to participate in the process. You can do it online. You can come see me at the office. You can email. You can call. The beautiful thing about this and some other tools is we're putting all the data together in a GIS-based platform to where you can just draw a circle around the city of Alpine and say, well, how many wrecks were along the corridor? How many people were drunk along the corridor? I mean, there's a bunch of different layers. What are the speed limits? What are the turning movements? How many people turned left here on Tuesday? Kind of thing. And we don't want to, I guess, taint the data by saying, well, only look at this or only look at this. We're just going to throw it all out there, and lots of people are going to notice stuff that we don't, and that's the input we're looking for. But this is a way of having a conversation with someone on your terms and on your time schedule instead of, I couldn't make the meeting, but I really care about this.
Yeah, and I mean, people also can contact the council. They have all of our contacts. That you ask questions on the council will forward it to us, and we'll try to answer.
We're trying to follow this idea that a guy named George came up with. I think Washington was his last name. It's called a democracy. He was one of the fellers that helped that out anyway. But I'm not an elected official, so why would I tell you what to think? If you have a movement or, anybody here get elected with 100% of the popular vote? It was a consensus, wasn't it? It was a consensus. So 70% of the people think this is a good idea and 30% don't. 30% of people get to be upset then. But if we use the democratic process to make it work, that's the one we have in place for our government. And I think when you have public involvement, why should the rules of engagement change in a democracy? You put everything out there, people vote, they figure it out. If there's a particular issue that you feel is important enough where there should be something more formal, again, that's where elected officials come in. I mean, if you think I'm going to throw out the word bypass, other than just make this statement right now, heck no, with another word in its place. That's not my choice. It's not my decision. I learned a very smart lesson from Val Beard watching her go through that study the first time. And she pulled me aside and she said, these people don't understand this, do they, Chris? They don't understand that this is a local decision. It's not somebody from Austin's to make. I said, you're absolutely right. And she's still right today.
Yeah, so that's the main focus. I mean, this is a decision for the city. Even if they decide to make a bypass somewhere, I mean, it's gonna be the county's, decision to go get the right of way. We can't, I mean, TxDOT won't be able to do anything. It's gonna be the city and the county. They're gonna make the decision, what the best decision that they can make, whatever their needs are.
Well, and there's impacts to the city and county. Just take that one example thrown out there, because that's something that you either love, hate, or are indifferent, like anything else in life. And if you have a plan, and somewhere down the road, there's a plan to look a little deeper into that opportunity, where could it go? Where don't we want? How could you build something that looks more like that crossing guard we talked about earlier? How can you make that, gosh, could we, maybe with certain land use restrictions like zoning, figure out who can build out there, and who can't, what you can build, and what you can't? I mean, if I were on city council, those are the kind of decisions I'd want to make. I'd want to be a part of. Yeah, you know, it's also a way to vie for funding with your elected officials higher north on the government org chart than y'all. Hey, we have consensus for this project. It was identified in a study TxDOT paid for as a safety issue. We all want it funded, please. They love projects like that. It's the controversial ones they don't. But if we're able to come up and develop our needs as a community or several communities, then I'm not allowed to lobby as a TxDOT employee, but every single other person in this room, including Ramon, can. And if you have consensus, that can turn into something real and meaningful. If there's enough, that's fine. But you can't fund nothing. You can't ask for nothing. You get it.
Like one of the projects that the city of Marfa came up with, and they're really looking into is bike lanes and walking trails. And I mean, we're helping them. We're studying this, how to make it work through their town, and it's going to be one of the projects that most likely is going to be in the report. And they'll be able to use that to go look for funding for those sidewalks. So I mean, this plan is a tool that the cities are going to be able to use for whatever project they want to put in the plan. So I mean, it's a nice tool, and the city and the residents here should take advantage of it. Like this is another website that we have. This is our GIS tool.
This one's secure. Got one up too.
Yeah, I really don't. I'm not a guru on websites, so I don't know how to answer that. But I'm glad that you mentioned that. We'll look into that. But on this is a tool that Chris was talking about, where you can put a specific area. You can zoom in and zoom out. You can zoom in the whole city and circle a specific area, and you'll be able to see where the people are going, how many traffic violations that are there, how many crashes, deaths, and all that. So it's a nice tool, and you also try to go in there and mess with it. And
we've got some handouts you can take tonight that have the addresses on there and stuff too. But basically, like any GIS-based platform, as you zoom in, you get different choices of which data you want to see. Like, I want to see how many fatalities or any accident that was caused by someone under the influence. I want to see anything that was distracted driving. I want to see anything that's this. And there's goofy layers like cell phone coverage and distracted drivers. You put those next to each other, and you do notice some really eerie patterns where, hey, they got service and there's a cluster of wrecks there. Something beat, and they thought that was more important than driving down the highway going 75 miles an hour. But that's why we're throwing that data out there, because everybody has different experience and different opportunity to make comments that maybe one of us wouldn't see, and you nailed it. It's like, thanks, good catch. Let's dig a little deeper. You may say, I think this is a pattern, but I need to know this, this, and this. We'll go get it. We can figure it out together.
yeah, and this website, I mean, we're adding stuff as we're going. So it's I'm not sure if it's already available, but at some point you're going to be able to click on a specific point, and you can upload a picture. Like if you take a picture of an accident, or if you cross, if you pass through a certain area that you say, hey, this is a dangerous area, you should be able to go in the website and pinpoint in that area and add your comments in there. And we've got people working on this that are checking constantly on all the comments, and we're getting them all in a nice format so we can present to the rest of the people. So it's a nice tool that people can use. People that like using cell phones, they'll be able to download this on their cell phone, and they can.
Not while they're driving.
If there were areas where you could stop, you could market and everything. Anyway, these are tools that we have. I don't know, did you all in your template and your data, did you all have this? So, okay. Yeah, so this is just showing where to go to the websites.
Computers and helping clear, hurry up. This is an example of the current focus groups that we had, and this isn't set in stone either, but for instance, you've got the environmental and natural resources folks, state national parks, and some of the other active agencies, economic development and business, tourism, commerce, lending, banks, real estate, private landowners, farmers, ranchers, community organizations, nonprofits, local media and press, safety is a separate component, school district, border trends and issues, which goes into your freight analysis and everything we talked about earlier, and then regional and international coordination. These are the public meetings that are coming up. We've got the next, first one is in Alpine. They're all the same. Basically, you're going to have 8 those stations that you go through, and it'll show you different information about the study, kind of where we are today. You'll have an opportunity to provide comment kind of as you go through and at the end, especially. And we'll show those other tools. We'll be in Alpine, Fort Stockton, Markham, Presidio from 5 to 7 on those days, 14 through 17. And the nice thing about them all being the same is if you're not able to make Alpines, you can go to Marfa or.
Yeah, and that's this is the main purpose of us coming to you, council. These are the meetings, and to try to advise you, send your people to these meetings. This is their opportunity. We're only going to have 4 of these meetings, or 3 or 4. So I mean, you guys know all the people in the area. You call them and tell them, hey, this is a meeting. It's important for y'all to participate.
Just to give you kind of a roadmap for how this will look. Well, we can get it easy later. We got to print out. Basically, you walk in, there's a welcome station and a sign in, like any other meeting you guys do. Then there's a short video of elected officials, basically given like a 30-minute to 1-minute kind of what this study means to them and why they're involved in it, why they're asking for your input and why they're asking for your involvement with it. And to me, that's important. I told you this is going to be the first part of the working group meeting we had. Most of the talking was done by elected officials, wasn't it? There's a reason for that. We presented the technical stuff or where we were with which camera did what and all that. But as far as representing the community, that was on our judges and our mayors, city council members, city managers, and all those people to tell us the pulse of their community. That's not my job, that's theirs. You're going to hear that repeated over and over the next year and a half. After the welcome video, I believe it shows the list of organizations of who is this corridor working group meeting that we're talking about. It's almost any organization you can think of that has any interest in this study. Station 4, do you remember what I'm on? You got it on your phone, right?
So station 4 is goals for the corridor.
That's the DOTS one.
Okay, station 3, background information. The next one, goals for the corridor. Station 5 is safety concerns. Station 6 is the corridor characteristics. 7 is challenges and needs. And then 8 is comments. So the way this public meeting is going to be, it's going to be like an open house. And people are going to walk in and go through all these stations and start commenting on each one of those stations.
And just to go back to one comment you made, Julian, what's important to you with this study may be, don't do this. Don't ever do this. For God's sake, don't do this. I mean, it doesn't have to be do something. Correct. And I didn't do a very good job of explaining that earlier on. It could be do nothing or make sure you don't do this, or this would be the most culminated thing you could ever do. That's input too. But it doesn't necessarily have to be something. It can be nothing or something not to do or something that's important. Any other questions? Thank you all very much for the opportunity. This is just a start, and I appreciate the discussion generated in here. Hopefully, we can get people to participate, or we'll just make a conspiracy theory that everybody will show up. So, one way or another, I do want to make sure that y'all know you're welcome, and this will not be our best work as a community. When I talk about the community, it's every community along the corridor, including Chapel. And it can't be our best work by definition without much participation as possible, because it's not real consensus if it's a vocal minority. It has to be, the silent majority has to come out of the cracks and participate too. Because like Ramon said when we started, we don't get this opportunity too often. Probably the first time we got it, it was a terrible, wrong approach. And, I think this is a unique opportunity from a planning standpoint. So if this picks up 10, 15 years from now, and y'all want to revise this plan, because things have gone different directions, or some assumptions were true or not, it's a lot easier to amend an existing plan than to start from scratch like we are today. Thank y'all very much.
One of the things, before we leave, so the City of Alpine meeting is May 14th, Monday, May 14th. Make sure you all put that in your calendar. And if you can't make it to the Alpine meeting and want to go to the Marfa or Presidio meeting, all the presentations, they're going to be all the same. So all the open houses is the exact same information. So you can make it to one, try to make it to another one. Thank you all.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you all very much. Don't forget this day. It's very important. Our time we have already taken on this project. We'll go ahead and move on to
Sir, let me try and make up a little bit of time here. And Chris and Ramon, thanks a lot. The websites do work, so I want you to use it. Just want to bring everyone up, the council up to speed on the road maintenance plans. We had two discussions about Alpine Country Club Estates. Challenge for all of us. We're going to be meeting with the Alpine Country Club Estates residents scheduled for May 16th. Following that meeting, based upon input from the 26 residents out there, we'll come back with some proposed recommendations for us as council. Again, the challenge is to maintain the roughly 2.5 miles with the roads out there. It takes about $100,000. The tax that they put into the city is $26,000 a year, so it's 4 times the amount of money we got. We'll put some thoughts on the table, get their feedback about what they would like to do. My sense is it will be a challenging meeting, but it's a meeting that we need to do. All right.
Okay, let's go on to the action items to be adopted by the statement of facts. Can't hear you. Can't hear me? Right. Use that letter. You hear me now? No. I'll just speak louder. The action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of facts, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. Action items limited to 10 per meeting. Citizens are allowed to comment, limited to 3 minutes, and being called upon by the mayor. Citizens are required to state their name and ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live and own business or property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak if there is time available. And we'll move to item 8, city manager.
Mayor, item number 8 is discuss and take action on approving the second and final reading concerning the zoning change request by 28 Brookover from an R1 to a CO in order to allow space for small professional business office. Property identification, street address is 207 North Harrison. Legal description is Hancock Edition, Block 4, Lot 6, E14, VRS of 7. Record owner is 28 Brookover.
Mayor. Yes, sir. I move we approve the second and final reading concerning the zoning change request by 28 Brookover from R1 to C0 to allow space for small professional office. The specific address being 207 North Harrison, legal description, Hancock Edition, Block 4, Lot 6, East 14, VRS 7, with the representative Tony Brookover. This is in one color.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And we'll move to item 9, city manager.
Item number 9 is discuss, consider, and take action on the agreement to purchase natural gas from West Texas Gas Incorporated for 2018 through 2021. And I believe, I passed out the current market rate as of today for this meeting.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would propose that council take action on the agreement to purchase natural gas from West Texas Gas from 2018 through 2019. The reason I make the motion is that it gives the opportunity to look at alternative suppliers, given that we have a tax and a new pipeline, and it would not be prudent to make a 3-year agreement without having that in place.
Okay, motion's been made and second. All those in favor?
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
I believe we do have some discussion. Mr. King was not able to be with us this evening, and he sends his regrets. In discussing this issue with Randy Guzman, who's our utility or gas utility director, he did have some comments that he wanted to make reference the competitive edge of that.
Okay, Mr. Guzman.
Okay, I guess the question that I have is that, do we have the documentation on where the tap is that was provided to the city of Alpine?
I don't know the answer to that. We were told the tap was put in, that was a condition for Alpine.
Right, I believe each city was offered a tap.
Yep.
I know that the last discussion that I had with the prior city manager, the reason we did not continue to move forward to try to get to that tap is because it's a mile away from us. And it would be too pricey. It would be anywhere from $2.5 to $5 million just to get to that tap. I cannot see that that would happen between now and 3 years. The price that we're getting here with West Texas Gas for that 3 year is very good.
What is it?
It would be at $3.84 that we would be buying it from West Texas Gas. The customer would be $12.34. Right now, the customers are paying $13.21. So, if y'all want to wait the year, y'all want to go for the 2 year, that's fine, but the price is pretty good right now for the business that we're in.
So if we locked in for 2 years, we keep the same price?
Yes. No, if it's at 2 years, it'd be at $368, $12.18 to the customer. If it's for 1 year, it's $352, it'd be $12.02 for the customer. But the numbers fluctuate. I mean, if gas goes higher within the next couple of years, and we'll be paying that much more. I mean, like I said, the last one was that we locked in for 18 months was at $4.71. So, but I mean, by all means, if we have the documentation on where that tap is, if y'all want to go forward into looking to see what it would actually cost, the gas department right now is not capable of running that mile. I don't know that we could even make the money in revenues anytime that quick. Is right now, because we have to do DIMP, which is Distribution Integrity Management Program. We have to do already close to, pretty close to a mile between both here and Fort Davis, which is pretty pricey because we have to change out steel to poly. We're mandated by the feds to do that per year. So in order for this to happen, it would probably have to be contracted out. So if just the materials alone would run anywhere from 2.5 to 5 million, that's about what it's going to cost for someone else to come do it. Just throwing that out there.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to amend the motion that we table and take no action on this. We have incomplete data under which I have a piece of paper in front of me that has different rates than you just read off for the 1, 2, and 3 years.
Oh, well, I'm already adding the 1.05.
I'm going to move the table motion until we get clarity on what the new numbers are.
No, the numbers are what I gave you. This is what it is. I think what Randy's total that he's giving you is what our price plus our price to the resident is. Is that correct, Randy?
Yes, that's
because
correct.
I'm showing that it's 335, that they're.
Yeah, the 1 year is 335.
335.
For 2 years is 250. For 3 years is 366. But we have to add the 1.05 that we have to pay. Plus, then you have to add the 850.
So as a council member, I cannot make a decision based upon a verbal discussion without us being on the background. I would be doing a disservice to the residents of Ward 5.
Okay.
I guess I'm not sure what data you're trying out. My battery just.
I'll just tell you right here. I have a piece of paper in front of me. It says, pursuant to request, contract price of the city based upon current market, is $3.35. 2018, 2018 to 2020, 3.5. 2018 to 2021, 3.66. There's nothing in the package that talks about any additional cost. All I know is right now we're paying $4.49 according to the package that's here. And now we put other numbers on top of this.
The city council approved the spot rate of 1.05 years
Where's that
back.
written down?
I thought council was supposed to already know that.
Yeah, I don't have anything in the packet. I can certainly go back and do the research. If we're trying to make a decision about 1 year, 2 year, 3 year.
All I'm doing was giving you the prices of what it would be for the customer for the 3-year rate of $366. It would be $12.34. Right now, we're paying $13.21.
And
I'll get the data by the next city council meeting.
great for the next
Just-
council meeting, that's fine.
Just be aware that this rate will change next month.
It will change. By the time we meet in 2 weeks, this rate will change because the rate, these numbers are higher than the numbers he gave me in April.
Could change down.
It could change down, but I got the rates from 3 months ago, and they've only gone up 13 cents. They may even go up more now.
Just change every 3. Rating day.
Yeah, but they give us the route, they give us the numbers every month. I don't know that they'd be able to give it to you in between a month.
So I think the idea, and I think what Randy's trying to say is that if we lock in for 3 years, we'll get the best possible rate to us as the city before we deliver to the residents, bringing their cost per month down. So I think that the 1.5 that Randy's referring to is the total billable amount that goes out to the customers,
No,
which,
the 1.5 is what we have to pay for the transmission fee to get it to us. They're giving us the rate of either 335, 350, or 366. We have to pay the 1.05. You multiply.
actually, no, it's in here. Sorry, it says for any delivered quantity in excess of the base load quantity is set out above, the price buyer shall pay seller for those excess deliveries will be equal to, actually, it's 101.5% of the first month. West Texas Waha index price is published inside FERC's gas market report. Is that what you're referring to?
That transmission fee was approved by council back in 2012.
Of which I wasn't here until we were.
And we've been abiding by that ever since then. And the 850 is the actual fee for the distribution fees. That was approved by council. I'm giving you the numbers that were approved by council.
The department would do that. Well, 2 weeks, Randy. We understand the data you're giving us, and, it came from them. But we also need to look into the deal where, City Councilman Stevens had said, well, it was a tap. I've heard that there's a tap, but I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
So, I think we could take it for just 2 weeks and do our fact finding first and bring it up at the next meeting. Okay, would you like to make a motion? Okay, you did.
Actually, we need to call that motion, vote on it, and then have another motion made.
Right. Okay,
So the original motion.
vote on the original motion, and then another motion amending that.
Or just.
Or just another motion.
Just another motion to table.
Okay, on the first motion, it was made, and it was seconded. We had discussion. So, all those in favor of the original motion, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Okay, now, make another motion, sir, please.
Make a motion to continue this discussion until the next city council meeting in order to find out, one, what the rates would be total to the citizens. Second is to understand if there is in fact a tap that is committed for the city of Alpine and what the cost would be to move that gas into the Alpine gas system.
Thank you. Is there a second? There's a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Anybody abstaining? One abstaining. Okay, we'll move on to item 10. Council members,
The next item is discuss, consider, and take action to approve the annual Law Enforcement Officer of the Year Award, a process for nomination, and to announce the first award by Ms. Escobedo, Councilwoman Ward 4.
I have been looking actually to the state that actually to the United States on how a lot of law enforcement officers get awards. And I noticed that. So what I decided to do was to create one. And the entities that would be involved would be, of course, the city of Alpine, District County, AlpineCityCouncil and Star Ross. There would be a nomination form that would be submitted. And then an award would be given every year. This particular year, I would be the person to nominate the first person, and for whatever it is, all the other entities would be able to nominate.
okay, so that's your motion. Is there a second on the motion? Okay, motion's made and second. Any discussion?
Who's second?
Ramon did. Yes, sir.
So I read through this, I'm just trying to make sure I understand it. Is to provide recognition to law enforcement officers that have demonstrated exceptional service to the city of Alpine and Brewster County. Does this include any law officer in Alpine or Brewster County, or is it limited to the city, does it include the sheriffs? Does it include Saul Law State University? So it's any law enforcement, and why would the first, it's not clear to me how so anyone can nominate. Okay. And so when would this start?
It would start, the first nomination would actually be, I'm going to do the first one, because that's for you. And the first one would be nominated actually on May the 8th.
So
After this, on the following year, everybody will be able to nominate.
So May 8th is a week from today.
I've already selected the person.
So how can there be a selection committee if you've already made the selection?
That's our
I guess I'm struggling with having a process where you've already made the decision and how that represents across the whole county.
Actually, I've already talked to, selection committee.
Okay, so
But I'm big one.
I just have a hard time saying we're going to have a process where everyone's involved. You want council to endorse your decision prior to us even knowing this process was going to exist. I have a hard time.
Well, after this, the nominations will be open.
I made my position. I don't know why it's not open from day one. I have no further questions.
So it would default to the 17th. It would default to May 17th.
Right, May 17th.
Because May 8th is, you're correct, Mayor, it's just a special for the swearing in of elected officials.
Yes, sir.
Carl Fleming, Ward 5. Is this just for the City of Alpine Police Department and Solid Ross and the Sheriff's Office, or can it be federal law enforcement officers? Is it Border Patrol, drug enforcement? I mean, law enforcement is pretty widespread here in the City of Alpine. Homeland Security. And is it just to be announced by Lucy, or is it to somebody, the City of Alpine announces it?
I couldn't hear anything that you were saying.
Yeah. And I think there's a law enforcement recognition also.
I believe that's something that they're working on, or.
Yeah, I thought they had already started on that, but, any more discussion? All those in favor of it, raise your right hand. And the same would have to be moved. Okay. So, all those right hand. All opposed, like sign. Thank you. For right now, I will have to go get more data on it. Right?
No, it's 1-4.
What? Oh, I thought we had some. Okay, one is not here. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's vote again. All those in favor of the motion? Well, no, the motion that Lucy's making, but all I said that it would be for the May 17th meeting. Okay, but we're voting on the motion that she made. Okay. Are we all clear on it? Okay, so let's go another hand, just to double check. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed? 2, 3. Okay. And abstain? 1. Motion is not carried. Okay, let's go to item 11, City Manager.
Mayor, just real quick, on Counselor Olivas abstaining, is there a personal interest in that? Because that's the only way that you can abstain if there is a conflict of interest.
There we go.
Our English guy. It's dead.
Under the Texas Ethics Commission rules, an abstention can only be made if there is a conflict of interest. Yes, you have to vote yes or no.
So you're voting yes?
No, I vote for.
Okay.
So it's 3-2. Yes, sir.
Okay. Item 11, City Manager.
The next item is consider and take action to approve contracts for services with Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott LLP for utility collection, fine and fee collection, and delinquent tax collection for the City of Alpine. And we have representatives here. This is a contract of service to do collections for the City of Alpine.
Thank y'all for having me. My name is Tracy Kreitz. I'm a partner with the Purdue Law Firm out of our Midland office. I have with me tonight Danny Barrett. He manages our Lubbock office, and we also have Lori Wilmark. She is our Big Bend area rep. She's based out of Marfa, but she handles all the work for this area. We do have a lot of business around here. And you may be asking what we do. We collect delinquent property taxes. We currently represent Alpine ISD and Marathon ISD in that endeavor. We also do fine and fee collections in the area. We also do utility collections. We go about our business and we know what means a lot to y'all initially, and that's bring in as much money as you possibly can, as fast as you can. But the more we've done this, you have other needs than that. School districts, for example, their timing of when they get a delinquent dollar boost really affects their state funding. So we've kind of altered our process to address that. Cities, on the other hand, y'all deal with a lot of problems. And it might not be that high dollar tax account, it's that problem property that people see every day as they're driving to and from work or just around town. And, you know, all the jurisdictions want it cleaned up, but it always seems like it's a city that has to deal with that property. So with that regard, we came up with a kind of a satellite company, and it's Texas Community Groups. And Danny's going to talk about that here in a minute. But it's just another way of attacking that property that really bothers the citizens the most. You know, the dilapidated buildings, the weeds, anything like that. And, you know, the old way, we would start at the highest dollar amount and work our way down. Well, those problem properties are down on the list. So sometimes you don't get to that. So we've created a way that we can approach that as well. You know, and I feel like we throw a lot of resources at it. We're the only firm that's hired somebody who knows how to do title work, knows the people, and can address the problems quickly just because of our proximity to living in Marfa, being able to be over here in 20 minutes, be able to go over to Fort Davis in 20 minutes. So I think you really sink in the resources to do the job. I'm out of Midland, like I say, I'm here quite a bit. I think Lori's seen me weekly for maybe the last 6 weeks. And usually I'm not here weekly, but it's every other week, every 3 weeks. But I feel like we're going to do a great job for you. We're going to work hard for you. In addition to this, our Texas Community Group, there's usually a fee for that. If you do decide to hire us, we're going to waive that fee for a year. Try it out. See if you like it. See if it makes a difference. It's made an impact in every community we've taken it to so far. And to go through the ins and outs of it, Danny would like to come up here and just talk about it. And I'll warn you, he's very passionate about it. So when y'all start getting tired, let me know and I'll tackle it.
Just remove the mic from my hands. I'm Danny Barrett, councilman, mayor. Glad to be here. Very excited about what we're bringing. Saw Victor come in. He's back a few weeks ago. Lori and I met with Jessica and Victor and talked about our program and what we've done. Very proud to come from a firm that's listened to our clients and try to meet their needs. Because I think out here in West Texas, our needs are different than those in other parts of the state. First thing I'm going to talk about, what we add to you from TCG, is code enforcement. We work hard to supplement what you do, what Victor and his group do for you as a city. We try to help them become more efficient in the tasks that they do and get things quicker and more efficiently and cost effectively. What we've done, tax collection and code enforcement overlap a lot. You're working on a piece of property that's delinquent on taxes, you do title work, you do research, you contact owners, lien holders, heirs. Same thing with code enforcement. You do that title research. You contact the owners and heirs, lien holders. A lot of it just overlaps a lot. And so what we put together through TCG and our code support, I think Victor was interested in, is being able to share that title research. If we've already done it, if we've already found those folks, we can contact them and help bring them into compliance. And somebody that cares about that property wants to take care of that property, and we've already found it. It's a great thing to share with you guys. Lori, we found Lori. She started with us. When did you start with us? In October. Lori comes from a great background in title research. Very familiar with properties in the Big Bend area. And it's been a very valuable resource that knows how to go and find those, and familiar with the additions, some of the unique problems in the area, and has been a great benefit to that. So that works really well with code enforcement, what they're trying to do. If we can manage a piece of property in another way, we can bring it about through abandoned property procedures that we have, that we can work through as representing you guys. We'll do that, maybe save them some time and save them some effort. If it's hard to bring people into compliance if they no longer are around. Property is abandoned and they walk away from it. Maybe they passed on long ago and they moved out and that property is just sitting there. Maybe we can help them take care of that property, get it in the hands of somebody who wants to live there, take advantage of the property, do something extra with the property, large in their regard. We've done some really good things. I think that's an exciting thing that we can bring. Another thing that we can do through the power of the municipality is working on those abandoned properties. School doesn't really have that power, but the city does. And so what we can do is move those properties along probably in a greater number. Those are the properties that tend to get knocks on the door at the city manager's office or the code enforcement official and get complaints on that. We can partner with you to move those properties along to what is allowed in the tax code. And one of the other things, kind of the last thing that I'll kind of touch on is trust properties. Trust properties are properties that have gone up to tax sale. They didn't sell at tax sale, and so now you own them in conjunction with the other tax lien. The bad thing about these properties is you don't get any tax revenue from them. Neither does the school, neither does the county. But unfortunately, most of the time what we see is our cities having to take care of those, mow those properties, maintain those properties. They don't get a lot of help financially. So we put some things together with trust property. I believe we have 12 properties in the city. I think most of them go back to 2011. So those are several years where you're not getting tax revenue on them. We work hard to market those properties. We use catalogs. We use property signage. We have an online bid system that you can go through the inventory and purchase those, make a bid on those properties. All of them come to you guys before a decision is made. We have to have council approval before any sale is made. You have to have that opportunity to turn it down because you think the property's worth more. Or we can filter it through some of the things that we have. I think Jessica in our meeting had mentioned this. If we're working for you and doing your collection, and we market and sell a piece of property to a purchaser, we can filter them through our system to make sure they don't owe you property taxes, and add another property to those that they're not paying taxes on, or perhaps they might owe you utilities. We won't entertain their bid if they owe you to pay utilities. Thing that fines and fees. So, but we try to get a good purchaser, somebody that's going to buy those properties, take care of those properties, maintain those properties, and pay taxes. But you guys always have that vote, and it's approved every sale that you make. So those are some of the things that we do. We really try to work on.
And I will say, the industry standard, there's other law firms that do this. The thing was, our job is to give y'all as much money as fast as possible. It's our lawyer joke here. That's because lawyers like to make money, right? But y'all's problems aren't necessarily the things that make us money. But when you represent us to be your attorney, you actually are bound by ethics. And sometimes what we have to do for y'all is in your best interest. It might not be in our best interest, but it's our job. That's what you hired us for, and that's what we're here. So attacking these problem properties, helping with the code enforcement, makes y'all's community better. And in the end, I think next time you are at TML or something like that, y'all will say, that Purdue law firm, they go above and beyond and attack what they need to attack, not just the stuff that makes it. So, and that's my promise.
We have a couple other things I wanted to bring up. Our fees. We don't cost anything. Our fees that are collected are passed on to the people that make it necessary for us, the delinquent taxpayer, the person who didn't pay their fine and fee at the municipal court. It's all added on, so it doesn't actually cost you. We actually think through our sales with trust properties, we can add money to you and be a revenue maker on it. One of the ways we do that, like I said, with the catalog and the signage and the internet presence, is we try to get more people aware of those properties, that they're for sale. We hope to create a little competition, a little higher bid. Maybe it was $1,000 property bid before. Maybe we get $2,000. We work with interlocal agreements and try to bring those dollars back to you to offset your costs of mowing those properties. So we've been very, I think, innovative with interlocal agreements. You guys bear the cost of those, so you should be able to return some of those dollars back to your budget. tax code allows for it, and the interlocals just compound that and then bring it above the board. Everybody knows what's happening. And I wanted to touch on one other thing that think about Victor, our meeting here. One of the things that we did, communication is a great tool. As we share information, be it title research or ownership research with his department, communication becomes a really big deal. One of the things that we developed is a smartphone now. Everybody has a smartphone now. If you see a problem property, we can make this available to council. We can make it available to Victor's group, to Jessica, whoever in your city administration that you'd like it to go to. They can take a picture of a property. Maybe it's overgrown with weeds or debris, or maybe it's a house that somebody's walked away from. You can just use that app, take a picture of it, and it comes immediately into our database. We pull the GPS information from it, identify the ownership. We look at the tax situation, and we make a recommendation to Victor and his department as to what we think may be the best alternative. There's a way that we can do it through the abandoned property procedures or through a tax foreclosure if they're delinquent on tax. We'll take that option first, maybe save them some time and effort and energy and costs from their department. And then if that falls through, maybe it's remedied, the tax is remedied by payment. Everybody has the option to do it. Then we pass that information on to others. They can contact those people that we've already found. So it's a very efficient way. We feel like we've been giving a lot of dollars back to our communities to clean up and further clean up effort. We've sold over, in the last few years, we've sold over 700 parcels of land. Most of them are vacant lots. Some of them have structures on them, but most of them are vacant lots with very low value. We've been able to take those properties, generate some more revenue for our cities to offset some of the costs we maintain. So that's something that the firm is throwing in. We're excited about. I think Jessica was excited about it as to what we can do. But anyway, I'll finish up there and try to cut it a little bit short. If you have any questions, later.
Mayor, if I may, I had put this on the agenda and I'm requesting that the council approve this. We currently have 2 different firms that we're working with. One of them has not been effective when it comes to collecting our fines and fees. They're basically just waiting for people to go to DPS to renew their registration or their license and then collecting their 30% at that point, and not doing any kind of real active collection efforts on our behalf. The tax office or the firm that we're currently using for our delinquent property taxes had also submitted a report, and I discussed this with Mr. Stevens earlier. You know, they come in and they kind of have been presenting to the entities a higher than 100% collection, which to me would tell me if you're collecting more than 100% every year, 100% is 100%. Where is the rest of that coming from? And so when looking at the information, they're kind of adding on
what they're collecting. They're collecting in royalties and interest, make it look like they're collecting more than what they would normally have done that. Interaction with both of those firms has been kind of very sporadic. None of it has really led to anything fruitful or proven to be really working for the city at this time. The one that does our fines and fees won't do our utility collections, but every year we've got a number of delinquent accounts that residents walk away from, the balances that we're not able to collect. We have to write off through that end of the year audit process. And so being able to put all those services within one firm is what really appeals to me, because it makes our work easier. We don't have to call 3 different people that are working for us. We can just call one firm.
Carl for the if I understand this correctly, this group.
Not discussion yet, but.
Okay.
You can stay right there. Okay.
Mayor, I make the motion that we approve the contract for service with Purdue Brandon Mueller, Collins and Mott LLP for utility collection, fine and fee collection, and delinquent tax collections for the city of Alpine.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Now
Now you're on.
If I understand this, I'm going to be paying my utility bills to this firm rather than the city of Alpine.
No, sir, only if you're delinquent,
What?
only if they're past due.
That's not what it says. It says for utility collection, fine and fee collection, and delinquent taxes. It says utility collection.
By law, those couldn't be turned over to us unless they're.
Okay, I can see that, but I don't want to pay my utilities to somebody outside that I can't go down.
We don't want you to, we don't want you.
That's what the motion says.
So, Mr. Mayor, I propose we amend the motion to insert the words delinquent between for and utility to resolve that concern.
Okay. Motion's been amended and seconded, so. We're in discussion.
One discussion, I think. Mr. Sager has a question, and I ask a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to use a mic. I'm Robert Savory from Ward 2, and I'm on the Building and Standards Commission. My question is how does this work with us that they're going to sit here and tell somebody that they got to mow their yard, or that they're in trouble for not mowing their yard? This is what I don't understand.
We're not working on that. We'll be working more with providing research to the coach department, to your commission, if you're requesting information on a piece of property or structure. If you've been asked about title work and that, we can provide that and share that information. We're not going to be actually enforcing code. You've got a code department that takes care of that.
Right, and we back them up.
That's correct.
So a couple questions. So, property within the city has 4 taxing entities. And so we have the city of Alpine in this proposal with being paying for collection of delinquent taxes. Since delinquent taxes are never just one entity, there's all 4. First question, and I have 2 others. How does that work with the other entities?
We've been working this out with Alpine ISD, Marathon ISD, kind of the same situation. What we do on partial payments is it goes pro rata to each jurisdiction, so $1 would be split up between each. We get payment in full for, say, Alpine ISD and the city of Alpine, that would go to Alpine ISD and the city of Alpine. That's how we have it worked out with each other.
Okay,
So they think competition's good. I agree.
Yes, so do you have a contract with the other 3 taxing entities as well?
Brewster County, Big Bend Hospital,
ISD, those are the 4. Those are the
right.
4.
We do with Alpine ISD.
Hospital district,
We do not.
so they're getting them.
They do. It's kind of complicated. If we get a partial payment in, they do that. We get payment in full for the jurisdictions we represent.
So I'm just, so for Brewster County, they are represented by different firms. Like, okay, so if their firm gets tax collections, we, the city, get the benefit of that. How do you all interact with that?
We kind of have, we're partial pays. Whoever gets it in, you're going to benefit the other guy.
Okay. Okay. That's question number 1. Question number 2, I read the contract that says delinquent accounts at the discretion of the municipal court, you'll go pursue those accounts. So that means the municipal court has to take action.
They do, and the law says either 60 days after the expiration of the time, I'll answer 72 days. So anything older than 72 days will be paid. They have the discretion to turn over.
So, and if we don't, we can take action.
You can go ask pretty clearly.
Yeah, and so the reason I raised the question You know, certainly from a municipal court standpoint, sometimes they're good about it, sometimes they're not. But we may want to track what those delinquencies are, so we know which ones are getting work.
Yes. Yes, and I've already discussed that with Kelly, on the process to go through to get these kind of through as quickly as possible. I think for a lot of people, the longer the judicial process takes, the more likely they are to forget they owe it. And so if we can speed up the process, from the time the citation is issued, to the time to go before the judge, we're able to get it into their hands a lot quicker so that they can make sure that those fines get paid.
It's kind of like a habit with the current stuff, they're trying to deal with all the current stuff, so it's like, it's fast. A lot of courts will say, how about we do 90 days? That's something that they can work with, if we're agreeable to that. We can do that a lot.
The reason I ask is council approves with the judges and protocol that. We counsel out for you. Should we have a discussion to make, do we need to do anything as council to make sure that happens? Because our case backlog in this town has been as long as 20 years. This year's only 2 years, so without for. We certainly want to be within that window so that we can take action.
Well, I think that's a discussion for another meeting. If the municipal court judge is appointed by council, I personally interjected myself in the administration of the court, recognizing that there's a loss coming out of our court. And it is something that I'm working with the court clerk to make sure that, at least from the administrative part of it, we're doing everything we can. Whether the judge is performing up to the standards of the council is a matter for the council to discuss.
We should always have next time it comes to it.
We can provide corporate terms and we can also be there to see that, provide some information. Good, anything else?
No further questions. Any more questions? All those in favor? Raise your hand. Opposed, like sign. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. And we'll move over to city council comments. We'll start on my left.
Oh, I'm showing where you go along with it. Hey, I thought we had a good meeting, good discussion. I do think there's an opportunity for council to come back and have a discussion about item number 10. My issue is not about the concept, it's just what I do is to hurry up, do it in the next week, and that was my concern. Thanks so much for coming. So,
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. I also wanted to thank Randy. This weekend, he was called out and he went above and beyond to open somebody's gas. And he didn't have to do that, but he did. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
It's Randy Ellis with I'd like to thank everybody for coming, especially my two constituents, who always show up. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Just a quick thank you for coming. And I believe Lucy mentioned it. I look forward to working with her and members of the city staff on our second hometown meeting, which I believe is now scheduled for sometime in early June. And we hope to see you there.
Thank you all for coming. We had a lot of good information presented and good discussion.
Thank you all very much. It was a great meeting. A lot of information came by on the Highway 67 corridor. Also on item 10 with Councilman Surveyor proposed. I'm in favor of that, but I think we need a little bit more dialogue on it before we press on it. But it's a great idea. It's very nice. All our and don't forget, May 14th, 5 o'clock, 5 to 7 at the Civic Center for the funding forum on the 67 corridor. We can bring any questions from what time. Thank you.
I move adjourned.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Council, you have a good evening.
Oh, heavy. It's not a piece of wood. That's nice, I like it. And that's what you guys want to do? That's what all you guys decided on? Good. Love it.
Thank you.